welcome to part 2 of my 10 cards, 1 kit featuring the Hero Arts January 2018 card kit. So for card number 6, I'm taking a piece of this Star Dream cardstock that came in the kit, and I'm cutting that down using 2 stitched rectangle dies from Lawn Fawn. I wanted to cut out that center panel to use that later on in the card. And this is a great way to stretch your supplies too if you have something that you want to make go further in a project. It seems such a waste to cover that up if you're just going to put a panel over top of it. And then I'm going to take some of this specialty paper that also came in the kit, and I took the largest stitch rectangle die and traced around that so I could cut out this panel to put on top of that frame that I cut out from the cardstock. And I think I used my ATG to adhere that. And I don't know why, but when I apply this, I put a strip down the center like it has something to stick to. I don't know why I did that, but it's okay. I just ended up sticking it to my craft mat, but I'll have to add that adhesive later anyway, so it all worked out. And then I'm just going to take a card base, an A2 size card base. All of these cards are A2 size in this series. And I'm going to adhere this to the card base. The cardstock I used was just from my stash. It's like a real pale peach color, I think. Again, this kit was very lacking in pattern papers and cardstocks and things like that. So we had to bring in a lot of supplies for that. Then I'm going to take the panel that I cut out from the center of that Star Dream cardstock, and I'm going to use that for my sentiment. Put it in my MISTI, and then I'm going to take this VersaFine Crimson Red ink and stamp that up. It says you and me. And then I'm just going to add some clear embossing powder. And I'm taking a little paintbrush to remove some little flakes of that got somewhere other than the sentiment. And I'm heating that up with my heat tool. And then I'm taking a piece of fun foam and just creating a piece of that to put on the back of my sentiment. And I adhere that with score tape. I cut all this out because I'm still struggling with score tape, getting the backing off and all that. And to finish off this card, I'm just adding some of the little sequins that came in the kit, and I'm using glossy accents to do that. And that will do it for card number 6. For card number 7, I'm going to make a shaker card. And I take a piece of white cardstock here, and I'm just going to cut out a little frame using these MFT frame dies. I'll run that through my Big Shot. And then I'm going to take another piece of the specialty paper that came in the kit. And this paper, it still reminds me of mulberry paper for some reason. That we used to use in our scrapbooking years ago. I think I still have some in my stash somewhere, I'm sure. But I'm just taking my scissors and cutting that out. And I'm cutting inside the line that I made just to make it slightly smaller than the frame so it won't stick out over the edges. And I'm doing the same thing for my acetate for my shaker. I'm just cutting slightly inside the line to make it slightly smaller than the frame. And I think I take some Aleene's Tacky Glue to adhere this down. I think I wanted to do that just so I could move it around a little bit to get it where I wanted it. So then I'm going to take some foam tape, and I just cut some strips in half to make them the right size to fit on the sides of the frame. I then take my anti-static powder tool and just go along the edges of the adhesive just so my sequins won't stick to the adhesive and not move around in the shaker. So I just remove the backing from the foam tape. And my little sequins try to go everywhere, and I have to corral them back in there. Excuse me. Then I just put the backing that I created for the shaker on there. Oh, excuse me. I have a tickle in my throat. So then I'm just going to adhere the little shaker onto this A2 size card panel. And for my sentiment, I take a strip of, this is just going to be used to back my sentiment, another strip of the specialty paper. And then for my sentiment, I just take a piece of white cardstock and stamp that up with one of the inks that came in the kit. And I cannot remember the name of it. I'll insert it here if I can think of it. The ink cubes do not have the names on them. I wish they would put the names on there. That would be very helpful. And I just create a fishtail banner on this. Just cut up the center and then in from the sides to do that. Then I just use my ATG to adhere this to the card base. And I'm sorry about the glare and the little shaker. I've got to work on my camera setup to make it more pleasant to watch. Okay, for card number 8, I'm just going to take 2 of the ink cubes that came in the kit and a piece of white cardstock. And I'm just going to swipe the colors across the cardstock. I'm not pressing very hard, I'm just swooshing it across there. And I'll just continue to do that all over this panel. And it doesn't matter if it's not perfect, it's just, that's part of the fun part of it. And then I'm just going to take, again, my Stitch Rectangle die. This is one of my very favorite dies. I use it all the time. And cut out a panel from that. I'm just using my micropore tape to hold that down so I can run it through my Big Shot. And then I'm going to take a piece of navy cardstock that I've cut down to a panel the same size as my card base. And I'm using liquid adhesive to adhere this just so I can move it around on the card base to get it straight. Sometimes it's a little bit difficult to get it exactly straight when it's the same size as the card base. I just use my ATG to apply the lilac and navy panel that I created. And now for my sentiment, I'm just using the same navy cardstock and stamping that with some Versamark ink and heat embossing that with some white embossing powder, and again creating a little fishtail banner. I see the sentiment on that is love you so much, I think. I'll just use some foam adhesive to pop that up, and then I'm using my Wink of Stella to give it a little bit of shimmer. And that's it for card number 8. For card number 9, I'm taking a piece of white cardstock and I'm using my Distress Oxide Seedless Preserves ink, and I'm just blending that all over the cardstock. And I super sped this up because it always takes me so long to do this. And I just do that, but I'm loving these Distress Oxide inks. I have got to collect more of them, definitely. I'm just taking my water bottle, the top off of that, and just flicking some little droplets of water on there and absorbing that with a paper towel. And then I'm going to dry it a little bit with my heat tool. And again, taking my Stitch Rectangle die. Excuse me. Now I'm taking the same Stitch Rectangle die and cutting out some fun foam to go on the back of this panel. And for this card, I lost a lot of the footage. My camera cut out, so here I've already done some other stuff to this card. I used this pretty little die and created 3 of those little embellishments there, and added some of these little rhinestones from Kaisercraft. And so now I need to create my sentiment. I'm sorry about that. I had no idea that my camera had cut off, so I'm using Love You, and I'm just going to ink up that with some Versamark ink and stamping it on this blue cardstock. And I'm going to heat emboss that with some white embossing powder. And you can see where I messed up when I tried the first time on the back of there. The letters were like smushed together or something. I guess I pressed too hard on the stamp block. And I just heat that up with my heat tool. And then I'm going to cut it out with another of the Stitch rectangle dies and create my little sentiment. I'm going to run that through my little Sidekick to cut that out. And then I think I used some foam tape to pop this up as well. And again, use some of the little Kaisercraft rhinestones to add a little bit of sparkle. But I love this. I think this may be one of my favorite cards. I love these colors together. I hate that I lost the footage for this, but I get busy crafting and I forget to pay attention to what I'm doing. That's why I end up off camera so much. But anyway, you'll see how it turned out in the end. And it was pretty simple what I did anyway. And that's it for card number 9. Okay, we're already to card number 10. And this card did not go as I planned. The way I envisioned it just did not turn out. It just wasn't working. So I cut out 4 of these filigree corners from the little die that came in the kit. Run that through my Sidekick. And I had to trim those down a little bit to make them work on this panel. So I did all 4 of those, just trim one of the ends off of each. And I applied strips of the specialty paper to the edges of the panel. And now I'm just adhering these little corners back to back on this panel using my Zig glue pen. And I think this turned out really pretty. I didn't add a sentiment or anything. I just made it a little note card. And then I'm going to adhere the panel to a card base that matches the little filigree corners that I added. And that is it for card number 10. Here's another look at the 5 cards I made in this video. I'll have pictures posted over on my Facebook page if you'd like to check those out. I'll leave a link below. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and leave a comment to let me know what you think. And here are 2 more videos you might like to watch. If you haven't already, please subscribe by clicking on my picture or on the red subscribe box below. And thank you so much for watching. Have a great day.